Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nelo and you're watching Nelo Stitches. Today's tutorial I'll be learning how to cut and sew a ruched or drawstring dress, whichever one you call it. If you're new to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button below and subscribe. And guys, I beg, like this video if you enjoy it. Like, if you have any complaint, leave it on the comment below and I'll attend to it. So without further ado, let's start. So for this material you'll be needing 2 yards of crepe fabric. So I used 2 yards of crepe fabric. The length is by 60, and of course a matching zipper. This is the
You don't
matching
know how to
zipper,
do what? You're
and
still going to
your
edit it, right?
matching thread,
Okay.
your pattern paper, your scissors, and the tape. So here is the pattern paper I want to use for
Yeah,
this. This is the
Patasha.
back panel. It has 1 inch zipper
I
allowance
need you
at
to
the
teach
back,
me photo
and I've
editing.
already contoured
I
the
don't do
back
less.
to fit. And this is the front panel. Okay, and here is the skirt panels. This is the center back. I did not add any zipper allowance to this center back. I'll be adding the zipper allowance directly to the fabric. Okay, so here is the back panel of the skirt, and this is the front panel of the skirt. So I'll be using the skirt pattern and the basic bodice pattern for this tutorial. So let's start altering this. So I trace out the pattern on this brown paper and I slash open here, and I'll close the bust dart like this. I'll use a tape to hold this down. Okay, I want to use a tape to hold this down so that um, we can add our sewing allowance to the dart area. So after I close this down, you will notice that the side seam shifted, so I'm going to reconnect it like this, and then I'll cut out the excess. So next I'll be adding the sewing allowance to the that area here, 1/2 inch seam allowance. So to do that, I will need to um, place another paper underneath the pattern so as to get the accurate measurement, because this part is smaller, is not going to get the 1/2 inch, so I need to use the paper under it. So here is the piece of paper I'll be using for this. I'll just put it under it like this, and I'll turn it over to the back side so that I can gum this with my tape. Okay, I'll flip this over to the back side so that I can gum it with my tape. Okay, so I'm going to use a tape now to gum this together. So after gumming it, I'm going to cut out the excess I have on the waistline, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the 1/2 inch sewing allowance to the dart. Okay. And after that, I'm going to connect with a straight line and then I'll cut out. Okay, I added 1/2 inch on both sides for sewing allowance. So I'm cutting out the excess right now. And next I'm going to fold my fabric in half into two, and then I'll cut this out. So as you can see, my fabric is folded into two, and here is the center front. This part here is unfold. Okay, and I added 1 inch to the side for sewing allowance. Okay, this is the 1 inch I added for sewing allowance. This chalk is not clear, but I'm still going to get a board chalk so that it will be visible enough for you guys to see. So I added 1 inch at the side for sewing allowance. You add 1 inch for sewing allowance, or any inch you want, maybe 1.5. So I'm going to use this chalk now to chalk it. So this is the 1 inch I added for sewing allowance, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And to the hem I also add 1/2 inch sewing allowance for joining of the bodies to the skirt. So after this, I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So to the shoulder, I added ½ inch sewing allowance for joining of the two shoulders together. You add ½ inch for joining of the shoulders together. And our front bodice is ready. So now I'm going to fold my fabric into two again to cut out the back panel. So here I've cut out the back panel. I added 1 inch to the side also and ½ inch to the hem. 1 inch, ½ inch here and 1 inch here. Okay, so here is the zipper allowance. I said is 1 inch, and to the shoulder I forgot to add my shoulder ½ inch for my shoulder allowance. So do not make the same mistake and add your shoulder seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to notch my zip area so that it will be easier for me to fix. Let me not start measuring it again. So I'm notching my zipper allowance point, and I'll do the same thing to the hem. I'll notch the zipper allowance like so, and I'll also go ahead and add my notch my dart area also. Okay, so now we are going to start sewing, but before that I'm going to show you how to cut the skirt. So here I'm marking where my dart will stop. This is where my dart will end, and I'll flip over to the other side and do the same thing. I'm marking where my dart is going to stop. Okay, so next I will be cutting the skirt. So this is my skirt, the front panel, and I close my dart because I don't like sewing dart on my skirt. So I close the dart. So for the ruched or drawstring dress, you need to add extra 12 inches to your length. Okay, so if you're working with length 20, you add 12 to it, is going to be 32. Okay, if you're working with length 40, you add 12 inches, and the 12 inches is going to be 52. So for me, I'm working with length 40. From my shoulder down to the length is 40 plus 12 inches for the ruche, so that when you drag your skirt, it's going to have that ruche effect. Okay, you're going to have that ruche effect. So I added 12 inches to that, and then this length of this pattern is 20 already, and then the whole length of the dress now is 52. 52 minus 17, which is my half bodice, I will be left with 35. And then this pattern is 20 inches length, which means I'm going to be adding 15 inches extra to it to make up for my skirt length. I hope this explanation is clear enough. You minus your half bodice after adding the 12 inches, and then you cut your skirt. Okay, so I'm working with length 40. From my shoulder down to my knee is 40, and then I added 12 inches to that. That means I'm cutting for 52 right now. Okay, so here is my center front is on fold. My center front is on fold, and I'm going to just add this point. I'm going to add 2 inches extra to it like this, because I take out 2 inches from my hip measurement. I minus 2 inches from my hip measurement just to give the skirt the pencil look. So I don't want this one to have a pencil shape, so I replace the 2 inches and I am connecting it back to the hip line so that it will be straight. Hope that is clear. And I'll extend this line down to the hem, okay, down to the length of the skirt. That is what I'm doing right now. I minus 2 inches from my hip for my knee line. Okay, you know, if you're making a pencil skirt, you minus 2 inches from your hip, and then you mark whatever you have on your knee line. So that is what I did. So I just placed the 2 inches, and after that I added ½ inch to my waistline and 1 inch to the side for sewing allowance up to the hem. I hope that is clear enough. Okay, I added 1 inch to the side up to the hemline. Okay, so now here is the back panel. For the back panel, if I'm making a pencil skirt, for the back panel I minus 2 inches, and that 2 inches I divide it by 2. I mark 1 inch on the center back and 1 inch on the side back. So that is what I replaced here now. Okay, So like this one, we minus 2 inches here and I replaced it. So for the back panel, you have to divide the 2 inches into 2. So 1 inch on both sides. That is what I replaced here. I replaced 1 inch here and then I connected it to the hip line. I also replaced the other 1 inch on this side and I also connected it to the hip line, just like we did to the front. And then here I added 1 inch for my zip allowance and 1 inch for my side sewing allowance up to the hemline. Hope this explanation is clear enough. Please, if you don't understand, you can still ask me on the comment below. Okay, so I added 1 inch back and I connect to the hip line, and then I add 1 inch sewing allowance and 1 inch for my skirt zipper allowance, and I close the dart also for the back. So you can add any allowance you want, or you can cut your skirt directly without using any pattern. You can still do that. Okay, so here I'm going to start sewing. So this is our skirt. I'm going to fold this in half so that I can mark my dart. So my dart is my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to mark 4 here. So I'm going to mark 4 right here, and I'm going to mark. So I will notch that point. I'm going to notch there, and then after notching, I'm going to mark a straight line following that 4 inches mark here. So you're going to use your ruler and just make sure you have a straight line. This is where you're going to be sewing a casing for your loop. Okay, so here I'm going to take it all the way down to the hemline. Okay, you mark all the way down to the hemline for your loop casing. So you can decide the side you want your loop to be, but normally it used to be at the left hand side. Okay, so I'm actually marking on the right hand, but I'm going to still remark it later. So now I'm going to shape my skirt. I place them right side facing each other. So this is one part of the back panel, and I will sew with 1 inch sewing allowance I added up to the hemline. I'll repeat the same thing on this side. Okay, place it right side facing the right side of the front panel, and you shape with 1 inch. This is for me, so as for me to fold my hem. I'll still lose the waistline later when I want to join the upper bodies, but this is just for me to be able to hem the down part. Okay, so here for the sleeve, my fabric is unfold into 2, and then my sleeve, my armhole is 9, and to that 9 I added 5 inches extra. Okay, my round armhole divided by 2 is 9, and then I added 5 inches extra to this measurement. Okay, you can use 6 inches, you can use 7 inches, you can use even 10. So depending on how puffy or full you want it to be. And the length I'm working with is 14. I added also another 5 inches extra to add extra full to the sleeve. Okay, so this is 20 inches. I added extra 6 inches, 5 inches extra, and 1 inch for folding. So now I'm going to mark out the 5 inches extra I added, like so. So this is the 5 inches extra I added, and I'll come to the side. Okay, I'll come to the side here. I'll come to the side here and I'll mark my cap height, which is 3.5. You can use 4 inches, you can use 5. And from that point, I'm going to curve my sleeve. From here, I'll curve my sleeve like this up to this point. Okay, so this is what I have. This is our sleeve is ready, as simple as that. And now I'm going to cut this out, and I'll use the same pattern to cut out the second sleeve. You can also fold your sleeve in 4 and cut it at once. Okay, but I don't have enough. I'm using, I think I made use of 1.5 yard of fabric for this dress, so I'm kind of managing it. So if you have 2 yards, more than enough. So I'm going to gather the upper part and I'll fold in 1/4 inch and another 1/2 inch for my elastic casing. Okay, the down part is going to have the sleeve hem is going to have elastic casing. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'll fold in 1/4 inch small like this, and then I'll fold in 1/2 inch again for my elastic casing. Okay, so I'll go and do that and I'll be back. So here I want to cut facing for my upper bodice, and I folded these pieces into 2, and I'm going to place, this is the front bodice, I've sewn the dart already, and I'll fold this into 2 also and place it on the folded part. So the fold part should be on each other, so the pieces folded part and the bodice folded part should be on each other like this. Okay, and make sure you have like 5 to 4 inches extra. Okay, from the neckline down, make sure you have up to 5 to 6 inches, and then you're going to trace out the neckline like this. Okay, so after tracing the neckline, you also trace out the shoulder side, and then you come a bit down on the armhole side. Okay, so now I'm going to take this out and I'll cut out the excess like this. And after this, you can curve your sleeve or shape it the way you want. So I want to kind of shape this a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to curve this like so. Okay, so this is what we have. So you're going to place your facing right side facing the right side of your bodice like this, and then you sew the neckline with 1/2 inch. You turn the neckline with 1/2 inch, and after that you top stitch on the facing. So let me use pin and hold this together so that I'll show you guys how to top stitch on the facing. Okay, so I'm using pin to hold this now. Okay, so you flip it over like this, and then you top stitch on the facing round. Okay, so that your shoulder, your neckline will lay flat, and then later you can use hemming gum or you tack your neckline. So I'll do the same thing to the back panel. Okay, I'll cut out the facing exactly the same way as I did to the front, but the back panel is going to be 2 pieces because this is 2. Okay, so here I've got the facing already. This is the facing here. I've already cut it out. Is 2. So this is how I'm going to place it, just exactly like the way you sew the front. But for the back, you're going to stop at your zipper allowance. You end here your zipper allowance point. Okay, start sewing your neckline. Don't sew the shoulder or just the neckline, and then you stop at your zipper allowance side, because after fixing the zipper, we're going to use the facing to turn it. Okay, so here I've gathered the sleeve. Okay, and I've also folded the hem of the sleeve where we are going to pass our elastic, and this is the shoulder side. I've gathered that point, so this is how the sleeve is going to look like. Okay, so for the elastic casing, you just wrap it around your arm and then you cut it out, or you minus 2 inches from your elastic, from your round arm. Okay, so now I'm going to sew the casing for the loop. So here I've torn the down part of the skirt part, I've torn the hem, and now I'm going to show you how to sew the casing for the loop. So this is the pieces I'll be using. Is about 2 inches wide, and the length is the length of the skirt. Okay, is about 2 inches wide, and the length is the length of the skirt. So I'm going to fold in 1/4 inch on one side, or 1/2 inch on one side, no, 1/4 inch on one side and another 1/4 inch on the other side. Okay, that is what I'm going to do. I'll fold in 1/4 inch on both sides, and then I'll sew down. Okay, just fold in 1/4 inch on this side, and also the same thing on this side. After sewing one side, you can now fold the other side and sew. Okay, So you sew up to the hem, and when you get to the hem, you're going to fold this like this. You cut out the excess that you have, and then you fold it this way just to have a neat finish in here. Okay, you fold it this way, okay, and then you sew. Okay, you sew when you fold. So here I've joined the two shoulders of my upper bodice, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that, including the facing after turning the neckline. I joined the two shoulders. I joined facing to facing and bodice to bodice. Okay, and this is what you have at the shoulder. It will be neat like this. I joined the two facing together and my two shoulders together like this. Okay, you make sure that the neckline is aligning. You join this way, you sew from your shoulder up to your facing so that you have a neat finish like so. Okay, so now I'm going to open up my zipper allowance. I actually close my zipper allowance so that it will be easy for me to work with. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. I did a loose stitch here. I'm going to open it up because I'll be fixing it separately. So here is the sleeve. I'm going to add my elastic casing here. Like I said, for your elastic, you minus 2 inches from your round sleeve. If your round sleeve is 10, you minus 2 inches. That means you're going to cut 8 inches for your elastic, or you wrap the elastic around your arm tightly, or how tight you want it to be, and then you cut it out and fix it to the elastic casing. Okay, so here I'm done sewing the loop, and I also the casing, and I also made a straight stitch on the middle. As you can see, after sewing the both sides, I made another straight stitch on the middle because we'll be having a 2 loop here. As you can see, is 2. Okay, after sewing the 2 sides, you made another straight stitch, and I have joined the front panel of the skirt to the bodice, and I lose the side. As I said earlier, that I'm going to lose the side in order to join the front panel and the back panel. So guys, I made a mistake. I was supposed to fix in my rope for the inside the loop before I joined this, but I made that mistake, and I'm going to still go ahead and lose this upper bodice to fix my loop. Okay, I mean the rope for the ruch. Okay, so I'm going to still lose this and then fix my rope before I sew. Okay, so I made that mistake. I was supposed to fix my rope before I sew the waistline. So I'm going to go ahead and lose it and then sew my waistline. Okay, so right now, here is the back panel. I joined the back panel separately and I sew. Make sure it gets to your zipper allowance here. Okay, if you have any shortage, it should be at the side, not on the zipper. So you start sewing from the zipper allowance here. So I've joined the 2 sides together. So now I'm going to close the side seam like this. Okay, remember I added 1 inch sewing allowance to the skirt and also to the bodice. So now I'm going to close the side seam. From here, I'll close it up to the shoulder, armhole. And when I get to the armhole, I'm going to leave like 1 inch. Okay, I'll start shaping from this point up to the armhole, and I'm going to leave 1/2 inch on the armhole. So I'm done shaping, and as you can see, I left 1 inch on the armhole because I want to fix my sleeve first of all before I close it up completely, because I want it to be in the same line so that when I'm overlocking, everything will just go straight. Okay, so you fold your sleeve in half and notch the midpoint so that you'll be matching the midpoint to your shoulder line. So as you can see, I fold the sleeve into 2, and I'm going to cut the midpoint like so, and I'll place that midpoint on the shoulder line, right side facing the right side of each other. Okay, right side of the sleeve facing the right side of the bodice like this. Okay, and I'll start sewing from that point up to the hem. I said hem. From that point up to the armhole. Okay, you sew up to your armhole here. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing on this other side. So this is how I'm going to go fix my sleeve, and then I'll shape the sleeve. I'll do that and I'll be back. So guys, I'm done adding my sleeve to the bodice, and right now I'm fixing my elastic to the elastic casing, and I'll pin this point here. When you get to that point, you pin, and then you continue passing your elastic inside, and when you're done passing, you're going to go stitch. Okay, I believe most of us know how to do this. I'm just doing this for beginners in case if you don't know how to pass your elastic to the space you created for it. So I'm going to remove my pin right now, and I'll go stitch this down. I'll hold this here and also this other side, and after that I will shape my sleeve. So guys, here I'm done doing that, and I have shaped the sleeve. As you can see, I've shaped the sleeve. Okay, from that 1 inch I left on the armhole, I shape it up to the sleeve hem. Okay, so now I did the same to the other side. I've also fixed my zip. I'm going to show you guys what we are going to be doing on the neckline. Okay, excuse me. So here, remember I said you should leave the zipper allowance side, so you're going to place it like this and continue turning your neckline. Okay, you continue sewing from here up to the end, and then you sew again down very close to your zipper allowance, to your zipper seam, the first seam you made for your zipper. You repeat the same thing here. You sew the neckline, you finish up the neckline. As in right now, you're going to turn the neckline of the back completely. Okay, just sew where your zipper is. As you can see, I sewed up to this last part. Okay, and then I made another stitch like this, very close to the zipper seam. Okay, I sewed another, I made another stitch, and I'm going to turn this out. Before then, I'm going to cut out the excess I have on the zipper excess that is bulging out. After cutting that, I'm going to turn this out, and this is what we have. You will have a neat finish on the inside and the outside of your neckline. Okay, this is what we have, and then you can go. Before you do this, you need to serge your facing, or you turn it. Okay, or you fold it. Okay, or you serge it, and after that you're going to finish this up. You go and serge every part of your aspect of your dress. Okay, so guys, like what I said before, I forgot to add my rope. So here I'm going to lose this part, this front part, just very close to where I'm supposed to pass a rope. So I'm going to lose it. Okay, I'm going to lose it so that I can pass my rope, and this rope is 2 inches wide. Okay, the pieces is 2 inches wide. I folded it into 2 and I sew in half. So in fact, I ended up using 1 inch. Okay, as you can see, and I'm going to go turn this. Okay, I've made a stitch on this other one. I'm going to turn it inside out now, and then I'll show you guys how I'm going to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to do this fast. So I've done that off the camera, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to pass it through. Okay, so here I've loosed this point. As I said earlier, I loosed it. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys how I will pass the rope from the down part. From here, just fix your needle to your rope, and then you pass it. Okay, I'm going to also do this off the camera so that the video will not be too long. Okay, so you just pass your rope like so up to the waistline. You do this until you get to the waistline. You're going to repeat the same thing on the other space. Okay, so here I've got to the I get to the waistline and I am pulling it out like this. So I'm going to remove my pin now, and this is what I have. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other space I have. So I'm going to use my pin to hold this, to secure this, and then I'll fix another rope here, and then I'll close it back. Okay, so I'll do that and I'll show you guys. So here I'm done fixing the second rope and I closed it back. Okay, and we are done with our dress. We are done with our dress. So after fixing that, but if you remember, fix your rope before you attach your upper bodies to the skirt, because I forgot to do that. That is why that was the last thing I did. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and share this video. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, and please guys, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any question, leave it on the comment below and I will attend to it. If you have any suggestion, any confusion, still let me know. Or if maybe there's a video you want me to make, you can still let me know and I will try my best and see if I can make that. And I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye.